Welcome to the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes, getting you ready for the next 2 hours of sports talk of local, regional, and national importance. I think we have about exhausted the Olympics, so we are coming back stateside now, but this is going to be a fun couple of hours. I think we'll be talking a little baseball, little women's basketball, obviously some football. So get ready. Wade, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. Good to be with everybody. It is, this week. On like Tuesday, I was like, man, this week is going to just drag. And then it feels like I blinked and here we are. We made it to Friday. We got football, last week of the preseason for our area high school teams. Second week of the preseason for our NFL teams. We're a week away from college football as well. I mean, things are starting to feel nice right about now. And I'm excited for today's show to dive into it.
Absolutely. Things are starting to crank up. You know, the summer is nice because it kind of allows us to catch our breath a little bit. It's tough putting a show together on a daily basis. I don't think we're going to have that struggle a whole lot longer, Wade. So plenty to talk about. In the next hour, we will be joined by MICHAEL-SHAWN DUGAR of The Athletic. He covers the Seattle Seahawks, and he has been here in Nashville for the last couple of days for those joint team practices out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. He will be at Nissan Stadium tomorrow night for the preseason matchup between those two teams. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about what he's seen here in Nashville over the last couple of days and what the expectations are for the Seahawks out there in that NFC West that also features the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. So looking forward to getting his insight on his team and on other things across the NFL. In our next segment, we will be joined by Nashville Sounds play-by-play announcer Jeff Hem. He is with the team over in Durham as they continue their 6-game series over there. We'll talk to him a little bit about the Sounds, a little bit about the parent club, the Milwaukee Brewers as well. They've had some developments as they continue to vie for that NL Central title yet again. So we'll be checking in with him again in the next segment. Also, we'll be talking a little Braves, a little Astros, a little Major League Baseball. Again, you know, the WNBA has cranked back up. They had 3 games last night. We'll talk a little bit about that and what they've got going on this weekend. And other NFL news, other college football news, and a little golf. So it's going to be fun. We got a lot to get to. It's a full 2 hours, I would say.
Yeah, about as jam-packed, really. We don't want to hear anybody saying we didn't cover enough because we've got it stretched pretty thin this afternoon.
If you stick around for the full 2 hours, you will not be cheated.
Absolutely.
You're going to get every bit of 2 hours worth of content and maybe then some. So stick around. Hey, and let's go ahead and get into it because we have been warned by producer Mark. What did he say? The rundown is loaded. So let's go ahead and give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Before we hop in, I want to remind you guys that today's rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates. The Blue Raider voice also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. So contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or visit his website at choosechip.net. That's Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
Girls soccer action from Thursday night. Oakland and Blackman played to a scoreless draw. It was Clarksville with a 2-0 win over Beach. Clarksville Northwest defeated Trigg County of Kentucky 3-2. Spring Hill with a 3-1 win over Coffee County. Columbia Academy blanked Forest 5-0. Culleoka with a 5-3 win over Zion Christian. It was Sycamore 5, Dixon County 2. Gallatin defeated Battleground Academy 6-1. Clarksville Northeast and Goodpasture played to a 1-1 draw. Loretta 1, Hickman County nothing. Hillsborough 6, St. Cecilia nothing. Independence 1, Rossview nothing. Portland 7, Lead Academy nothing. Cookville 4, Laverne nothing. It was Lawrence County with a 9-2 victory over Hardin County. Martin Luther King blanked Lawson 10-0, and Centennial outshot and outgoaled Lincoln County 4-3. Finally, Merrill Hyde with a 10-0 victory over Stratford.
More scores from last night. It was Cannon County, a 4-2 winner over Middle Tennessee Christian. Mount Juliet defeats White House 5-0. It was Siegel 3, Nolensville nothing. Franklin all over Pope John Paul, 9-1 was your final score there. Huntland all over Richland in Linville, 5-0 last night. Page 2, Rockville nothing. Providence Christian, Silverdale Academy, neither one able to find a goal in that one. We end scoreless. 0-0 draw there between those two teams. Wilson Central 2, Smyrna nothing. Station Camp, a 4-1 winner over Liberty Creek. STEM Academy knocks off Republic 7-0. Stewart's Creek takes care of Brentwood Academy 2-0. Summit 9, Grace Christian Franklin nothing. Livingston Academy over Valor Collegiate 1-0. It was Macon County 3 and White House Heritage 0. Speaking of 3-0 scores, bonus soccer score from last night, the UT Southern men opened up their season with a home victory 3-0 versus Tennessee Wesleyan. Good win for the Firehawks. On to Major League Baseball now. It was the Giants defeating the Braves 6-0 last night. And the Nashville Sounds in minor league baseball get the 1-0 win on the road at Durham. As Mo said, we had WNBA scores from last night. Here they are. It was Minnesota 79, Washington 68, Phoenix all over Chicago 85-65, the Liberty all over the Sparks 103-68. And an absolute nail biter. Everybody was glued to the edge of their television sets as it was 14-13. The Eagles knock off the Patriots in preseason action last night in the NFL.
Yeah. Riveting.
maybe oversold it a little bit there, but yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. Today's girls soccer action. 4:30 first touch for Baylor and Father Ryan. Also at 4:30, we got Martin Luther King at University School of Nashville. Hillsborough travels to Centennial for a 6 o'clock first touch. At 6:30, it's Christ Presbyterian Academy at Brentwood High School. Franklin County comes to Giles County for a 7 o'clock matchup. At 8:10, it's Signal Mountain and Murfreesboro Central. Also at 8:10, it's Houston and Ravenwood. Not sure where these are taking place. Saturday, 10 o'clock a.m., Chattanooga Christian is at Mount Juliet. Briarcrest Christian takes on Father Ryan at 10:50. Harding Academy and Kirkwood meet at 12:40. Also at 12:40, it's Murfreesboro Central and Lincoln County. Briarcrest and Ravenwood face off at 4:20. Also, Trinity Christian and Murfreesboro Central at 6:10. Another 6:10 matchup is Kirkwood and Cascade, and at 8:20, it is Baylor and Ravenwood. On Sunday, you've got Assumption out of Louisville taking on Father Ryan at 9:30 a.m., and at 11:20, it's Powell County, Kentucky, and Kirkwood.
A couple of Sunday soccer showdowns there to get the schedule moving right along. On to Major League Baseball today. It'll be the White Sox and the Astros tangling in Houston. First pitch comes your way at 7:10 p.m. The Braves are at the Angels tonight. 8:38 will be your first pitch. Game can be seen.
Not a minute before.
Yeah, not a minute before, unfortunately. Braves at Angels at 8:38. MLB Network or Bally Sports Southeast will be your destinations there television-wise. Tomorrow, Astros hosting the White Sox beginning at 6:10 now. Right back at it at 8:38. It'll be the Braves and Angels tomorrow night. Same deal. Can also be seen on MLB Network or Bally's. Sunday, we get a little early reprieve in our games as the Astros and White Sox will close it out at 1:10, and the Braves and Angels will get it on at 3:07. Again, Bally Sports or MLB Network, your destination TV-wise for those games. On to minor league baseball. Today and tomorrow, the Sounds at 5:35 versus the Durham Bulls. Sunday, just a little bit earlier, action gets underway at 4:05. WNBA action through the weekend. Today, it'll be Phoenix at Indiana. Game can be seen on Ion at 6:30. Also at 6:30 will be Seattle at Atlanta. Connecticut will be at Dallas in your night game tonight. That one gets underway at 8:30. Tomorrow, a couple of big games that are going to be on big networks. CBS will be hosting a doubleheader, beginning with the Lynx at the Mystics at 1 p.m. It'll be the Liberty at the Aces at 3 o'clock. Chicago is at the Sparks to close us out at 4. On to Sunday action now. It'll be Connecticut at Atlanta at 2 p.m. Game can be seen on ESPN3. Seattle will be at Indiana at 2:30 on Sunday on ABC perhaps.
I think it's probably ABC.
ABC most likely, unless they're on a streaming platform that I'm not even aware of just yet. 5 p.m. Once again, that's Seattle at Indy at 2:30. 5 p.m. will be the Sparks at the Aces. That game will be on NBA TV. And your final WNBA game of the weekend will be Chicago at Phoenix at 8 o'clock. NFL action preseason continues for the Tennessee Titans. They will be at home versus the Seattle Seahawks. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. You can see the game locally on WKRN ABC. And that is our weekend schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our rundown.
Top story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and pass through there and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items available until 6 o'clock. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And, you know, Michigan has been on this show quite a bit, Michigan football here in the last few days, and it's showing no signs of letting up. It's being reported by numerous outlets that Jim Harbaugh has opted for discretion as the better part of valor and has opted out of the honorary captain's role for the Wolverines season opener against Fresno State here 2 weeks from tomorrow. Sharon Moore delivered that message and said that Harbaugh had called and said he would not be attending, wants to remain focused on his first Chargers team and not take away from the 2024 Wolverine squad. So that's the way.
You buying that?
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. I'm not even buying that Harbaugh came to the conclusion.
Yeah, it feels like the die was kind of cast on this. The court of public opinion just mounted and mounted in Michigan. Cooler heads prevailed. It was just you can't fly that close to the sun. I mean, you're already on
Michigan kind of taking on that Icarus role there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you can't fly that close to the sun. It is cool. It is, brilliantly spun with the PR that he's going to focus. I don't know necessarily why you couldn't have either not had this story come out in the first place or why you couldn't have said that a couple days ago, but here we are. It's kind of neat though. Jack Harbaugh, and Jackie, the matriarch of the family, they're going to stand in for him during the opener. Jack's got great ties with the program, and Jim probably, I know his parents wanted to probably be there with Jim, but his parents being there is pretty cool because they're such an integral part of his life and his coaching career.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, it'll be pretty cool. But they wanted him to be there as well. So you kind of still get the same message across, but without potentially, like you said, really getting your hand slapped by the NCAA, or at least being on their radar any further.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect balance of, kind of poking the NCAA in its eye, but at the same time not. I mean, the Harbaugh effect will still be in effect with Jack and Jackie being there. And like you said, they have been so integral in Jim's career and his life, and vice versa. I mean, I remember back in another life doing a story where Jim was doing some recruiting for Jack when he was at Western Kentucky, and kind of reviving that program when it was near extinction, really. And I think one of the folks that Jim actually signed for Western Kentucky at that time was Willie Taggart. So he was very instrumental in Jack's coaching career at Western, and so it's kind of coming somewhat full circle, I guess. But I think it will be really cool for them to be there, like you said, and for sure Jim will be there in spirit, and I don't think that the sentiment really changes a whole lot as far as Michigan goes toward the NCAA, but Jim physically not being there, I think is really the best thing for everybody involved.
Yep. And, presumably there will be a time, there will be a place, for him to kind of rejoin the team. Maybe not even this season, but a chance to rejoin the team, come back to campus and kind of celebrate that championship from last year. But yeah, the timing on this is just too much. And Michigan was really, really thumbing their nose at the NCAA from the jump by this thing. And so cooler heads prevailed. Ward Manuel probably got a lot better or is going to get a lot more better night's sleep ahead, not having to worry about this going forward than he would have been if Harbaugh himself would have been on campus.
Yeah, I think this is the best idea for everybody involved. Meanwhile,
hey, on the other end, I'm picturing Sharon Moore texting Harbaugh saying, "Dude, will you chill out? I'm the one that's got to coach this team, and I'm still potentially on the hook for some stuff. So I'd appreciate it if you cool off a little bit here."
Yeah. Step back, stand down, chill out. Whatever it is. Yeah,
you're good for 4 years. Meanwhile, I'm right on the hot seat now,
big time. Speaking of Michigan football, first off, Wade, is it Stallions? Is that how you pronounce it? Because it's missing an L from the from the conventional spelling, but I don't know how else to go at it. But Connor Stallions, who came to fame as the sign stealer for Michigan football, will be defensive coordinator for Mumford High School in Detroit. Now, a few weeks ago, Wade and I did our favorite Eddie Murphy movies. And I know that 48 Hours was on one of our lists and probably mine. But Axel Foley is a graduate of Mumford High School in Detroit. A proud graduate of Mumford High School in Detroit. So I'm wondering, has Axel weighed in on this?
For as wild of a story as this whole thing has been from the jump, and as it kind of continues to be, why not? Why not have Axel Foley chime in? And
I'm
really
wondering,
just give this thing what it needs.
I'm wondering what Axel and his donations to the Mumford High School football program, what this does for them when you consider that the head coach, William McMichael, says, "I got the most hated man in college football right now. He's my defensive coordinator." Again, Stallions suspended last October after the Big Ten announced an NCAA investigation into the Wolverine program for sign stealing, resigned in early November. Has not commented publicly, but in less than a couple of weeks, August 27th, the Netflix documentary Sign Stealer will be released. So he has given exclusive interviews in conjunction with that documentary. So we can see what Mumford defense coordinator Connor Stallions has to say regarding the sign stealing controversy on Netflix beginning August 27th. And I'm sure plenty of people will do exactly that.
Yeah. So. And, when that series was announced, I thought to myself, now that is a crafty move, hadn't said a single word. And I'm not going to say a single word unless somebody pays me. And guess what? Netflix says, we'll pay you.
We'll pay you.
And so I love that from the bag securing standpoint for Stallions there, because now from the coaching side, presumably if he didn't have any of this baggage, we'd be talking about, man, this is a massive hire and this is a really cool hire. You got somebody coming straight from the Michigan coaching staff. And so it just kind of becomes a question of, can your program or should your program kind of have this sort of stigma? I mean, everything you do is going to be fodder for the internet and for memes going forward. I mean, heaven forbid, they got a bad defense this year and they give up 56 points or something like that in a game. So, I mean, it comes with the territory, but you are in theory getting a pretty solid coach just kind of from the resume standpoint.
The resume definitely stands out until a rival high school accuses Mumford of stealing signs.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want. There are no more creative juices flowing than when you talk about children and young kids and youths. And so if there's a meme, if there's a joke to be made, those kids are going to find it. So the student sections of the teams that they're playing against, buckle up. They're going to have some good stuff this year.
Absolutely. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we will be joined by Nice Cup. We will be joined by Sounds play-by-play announcer Jeff Hem, talking a little Nashville Sounds. Stay tuned after the break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
He shoots, and he scores!
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
The Weekend Update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely, and we are now joined by the voice of the Nashville Sounds, Jeff Hem, coming to us live from the DBAP, the Durham Bulls Athletic Park in Durham, North Carolina, where the Sounds continue their 6-game series against the Bulls, and looking to even things up tonight after dropping a couple of wild ones to start the series and then getting a classic pitchers duel yesterday with a 1-0 Sounds victory. So Jeff Hem, good afternoon.
Hello, guys. How are you all? It's good to talk to you. Happy Friday. Beautiful day here in the triangle of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And it's been a very eventful series so far. I made the comment going into the series that Durham was several games out of 500. This is normally a team that if it doesn't win a championship, it is contending for one. They're at a spot in the standings where you don't normally see them for a Rays affiliate, especially late in the year. And Rick Sweet wanted no part of hearing anything about that going into the series. His comment to me was, Durham is Durham. And they went on to win the first 2 games in the series against the Sounds. And with just one of the wilder games we've seen on Wednesday, just a crushing loss. So 2 games in, it was like, well, Rick, there's a chance that Rick knows what he's talking about. He's been doing this for just a minute. The old I don't care about a team's record. And he's right. Durham's a left-hand heavy team. They've got a lot of left-handed pitching. Those are 2 things that have given the Sounds problems this year. And this is usually a very hitter-friendly ballpark. And even if we don't see games quite like Wednesday, we do see wild games and drama and comebacks. And Durham they are always good at defending their home stadium, even if their team's overall record may not be great. So the first 2 games, it sort of felt like, oh man, this is not good. And the Sounds bounced back great. And good pitching will always beat good hitting. They can't win if they can't score. And last night was a 1-0 ball game where we just continue to see some of these new faces up from AA and some of the top prospects pitching-wise around the game, not just for the Brewers, doing really well for the Sounds. Logan Henderson was outstanding last night for 6 innings. Jacob Mizorowski, another time out of the bullpen. He hit 100 last night, but it's not just the velocity. It is the dominance of the command with the velocity that we're seeing right now from Mizorowski. So very fun to watch. Great game last night, a nice win, and now trying to even things up in a spot in this league and with an opponent in this league that you just always expect a battle. So it's been appropriately that so far this week.
3rd shutout in 5 games for the Sounds as they closed out the Indianapolis series with back-to-back shutout victories, back-to-back 3-0 shutout victories, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, for everything that the Sounds have done offensively over the course of this season, it really kind of feels like pitching is where your bread is buttered at this point.
It is. And that's been the strength of the team almost from day one. The hitters have shown these flashes, but if you're asking what is the most consistent component of the team, it's been the pitching, no doubt about it. And some great defensive plays last night too. Patrick Dorian with a great play at first base on a ball that would have gotten down the line to drive in a run. Even though the Sounds didn't win the night before, Freddie Zamora at shortstop made one of the plays of the year because at the time it did save the game and it did continue the game. Otherwise, it would have ended in the 10th with a great diving stop up the middle. And Chris Roller, one time in each of the first 2 nights of the series, did what he does, and that's make some amazing catch in the outfield where he's jumping and banging into the wall and holding on to the ball. So the defense has done its part too in this series, and that's been another streaky component of this team. But the pitching has had that steady heartbeat all year. And even though there are some new names in the rotation, it's a rotation that is finally solidified. So many times this year, we would be talking about what felt like an 8-man rotation because you'd have 5 and then 3 others that you're trying to treat like a starter and very few true relievers. Those waters have finally calmed a little bit where the Sounds have kind of their 5 right now because Aaron Ashby and Jacob Mizorowski are pitching out of the bullpen with an innings total that's way higher than what they had last year. and the door open to go to Milwaukee and be a reliever. Those are two guys that I think have bright futures as starters. But for now, they're out of the bullpen, and so there's another 5 in the rotation that everybody kind of can know, and the roles I think are a little bit more clear cut, and it's leading to a pretty confident pitching staff right now, I think.
Jeff, I'm curious. This is a pretty simple question, but you kind of described the consistency of the pitching staff. To me, it seems like you would almost prefer, if you're going to have the lineup or the pitching staff be the more reliable unit, it seems like you'll take your chances with maybe just getting a few lucky hits with a up and down lineup every night. But if you can go out and trot out a solid staff, it seems like that's a more winning recipe long term to me. I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I think you're right. Zooming out, I think that's, if you had to pick one, that's a pretty good approach. I mean, the game doesn't start until the pitcher starts to deliver the pitch. Like he's in control and he dictates how it can go. There have been plenty of times where I've gone to interview Rick Sweet for our weekly Sunday pregame show session, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, where am I going to start this week? And it's funny, we normally end up talking good or bad week centered around how the starters have done. I mean, it's pretty simple to zoom out and say, hey, let's look at how the starters did in a particular week. I'll bet you the team had a pretty good week. And if the starters were not that way, I'll bet you're trying to get a split on Sunday, or you're trying to salvage something with the finale. It's just the game is dictated by the pitching most of the time. The good pitching does beat good hitting. And so you're right. I think if you had to pick one, you'd take it on the mound. And look, there's also a component that's coming to my mind as I'm answering your question. Like, the Brewers have been kind of built that way at the big league level the last few years too. Pitching and defense, prevent outs, get outs, and have just enough offense. The organization is so well stocked with pitching that if you can get just enough runs, more times than not, when you're talking about a Freddie Peralta up there, or in years past with a Corbin Burns and a Brandon Woodruff, and then you got Devin Williams in the back end of the bullpen, it's like, guys, just give us 3 or 4 runs. We're probably going to be fine. The Sounds team has a component of that with a really good starting pitching to just go out and at least be in a ball game. Chad Patrick the other night, who's been so phenomenal this year, gives up 3 unearned runs in the first inning, and it felt like the wheels could come off. He pitched into the 6th inning. He settled in from a really rocky start, only allowed 2 earned runs. That's a game where, oh man, we might have to score 8 or 9 runs to win this game. The starting pitching still kept them in the ball game even after a rocky start. So 9 times out of 10, you're offering me a good start from the starting pitcher. I'll take that and sort of presume that the offense can do just enough.
Jeff Hamm, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And Jeff, as you talk about, some of the new faces that you're seeing in Sounds uniforms this stretch right now, it kind of feels like the Brewers are Braves 2.0 right now, going back to that 2021 team, for all of the movement and all of the injuries that they've sustained. They've still got the 3rd best record in the National League right now, and everybody in the NL Central is chasing them. And obviously they had another big blow this week. Christian Yelich out for the year. He's either has or will undergo season-ending back surgery. So again, a lot of moving parts to that Brewers squad, and obviously that's going to impact the Sounds.
Yeah, and it just continues to make, in my opinion, what the Brewers are doing this year all the more impressive, because for a long time they didn't have Devin Williams. Even though the news is now solidified on Yelich, there's still been a lot of stretches this year where they didn't have him. They knew going into the year they would not have Brandon Woodruff, and so many young prospects and young Sounds from this year and Sounds of past years have performed really well. Guys that you knew had the talent, but there's always that part of you that still needs to see it performed day after day at the big league level before you can really buy in. And those guys have deserved to be where they are in that division. When you think about what Terang has done this year, Jackson Chourio just continues to blossom and looks like every bit of the superstar the Brewers are counting on him to become. Blake Perkins has been an unsung hero up there. Sal Frelick, now that Garrett Mitchell's healthy, he's been in there most every day. Even though he's hurt now, Robert Gasser was a big contributor when he went up. Tobias Myers has been tremendous as a rookie in that rotation. So many young guys that we saw come through First Horizon Park in these last couple of years have turned into a core of a team that's got the biggest divisional lead of any team in Major League Baseball. I mean, it's just so cool to see when you watch them as young players, and they're still young, but you watch them as pre-MLB players now becoming everyday core, solidly built big leaguers. It's what it's all about to follow AAA baseball. Look, I want the Sounds to win every day with whatever team is going to be in the lineup that night down here. But it's just as much fun to watch guys go up and try to stay there and try to become a name that 3-4 years down the road, they're in an all-star game and you can remember all the work they put in as Sounds. I mean, the Brewers are just so much fun to watch because they just keep bouncing back from any kind of rough card that they're dealt with an injury. And you do that by depth. You do that by not just having a lot of bodies, but truly having depth, meaning guys who can do what you ask them to do when you need them to do it. And the Brewers just keep finding those guys. And I think there are several guys on this Sounds roster right now who still could become somebody that everybody starts to learn about a month from now or in October, because they seem that well positioned with what they have down at AAA.
You mentioned Jackson Chourio, and I had him on the list of, talking points today because I saw a graphic on Twitter, obviously, here in the last day or so. He is one of 6 players in Major League Baseball history with 15 or more homers and 15 or more stolen bases at age 20 and 157 days, which is less than 20 and a half years old. He's already got 15 stolen bases, 15 home runs, and, probably in any other year, he would be a National League Rookie of the Year candidate, except he's not even the best rookie in his own division necessarily.
Yeah.
So.
It's so impressive, though, and I think and if you look up Chourio's numbers in April, he got off to a slow start, as you would expect a 20-year-old rookie to do. And I think the best possible thing happened for the Brewers. The sophomores, the Tarangs and Frelicks and Perkins and some of these guys, and they've got, no doubt, they've got some established, really, really great players like Willie Adames and William Contreras, Yelich at the time when he was healthy. But the best thing happened, I think, that the Brewers could have wanted. The other guys around him, especially the young players who had the big league rookie season under their belt, got off to a good start. And in April, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, is Chourio ever going to make it? It was, hey, we're doing fine. Chourio can just be a rookie and have the ups and downs that are going to come because the other guys are doing fine. If the entire lineup had gotten off to a slow start, Chourio might have stuck out more like a sore thumb, but it allowed him to kind of blend in and just go play every day because the Brewers were honest about it. They knew, like any young player, and any established player still has a rough stretch. So it wasn't like they predicted him to go off from day one, and he didn't. But the other guys around him were doing fine, where he didn't have everything on his shoulders trying to carry a lineup, which no 20-year-old can do. So now they've gotten to the fun part, and some of the bumps in the road were absorbed by the guys around him, just like the way I think you would draw it up going into the year if you could have it your way.
Jeff Ham, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. You guys finish up over at Durham with a couple of evening games, 3 evening games, both 5:35 tonight and tomorrow night Central Time, 4:05 on Sunday. And then you come back home for a 6-game set against the Jumbo Shrimp, one of sports' great oxymorons, by the way. But the Jumbo Shrimp of Jacksonville, what do we know about them at this point other than they are the Marlins AAA? How familiar are you with their roster at this point? And I ask that to ask this: where is Ryan Weathers?
Well, let me look up Weathers while we're chatting here because I can give you the exact, not the exact location, but a rough estimate on his location. Jacksonville is right behind the Sounds in the standings. They're a couple of games over 500, so they're in it in this 6-game playoff chase. And I'm really curious to see what they look like, because if you zoom out and think about what the Marlins did at the trade deadline, they absolutely loaded up on young talent and prospects, because anybody who was having a decent year for them, it felt like, got moved at the trade deadline. So you're always at AAA, you're always leery of those teams because you feel like they've gotten some fresh faces and some hungry guys and some new players looking to prove themselves in a new organization. So Jacksonville appears to be pretty strong right now, and we've only got a couple of homestands left. The next one is the 12-gamer in September with Gwinnett and Memphis, Braves AAA and Cardinals AAA coming in for the first time this year. So for our fans out there, I always kind of remind people this time of year, because we're all football fans and that starts to take over. The Sounds are waving our hand like we're still here. We've got 18 home games left, and some fun parent clubs of those affiliates are coming in at this time. Ryan Weathers is on the 60-day Marlins injured list, 60-day as of about a month ago, with a left index finger strain.
Right.
So
they must have moved him to the 60 then, because I thought he was about ready to come off.
Well, and sometimes, let's see, and it's worth noting, to your point, he went on the 15-day on June the 8th. So sometimes, you hear, oh, he got moved to the 60-day. Maybe that means he's out for the year. Sometimes teams will put a guy on the 60-day, and it still lines up perfectly with the timeline that they expect him back. So,
right.
I
so
don't know
he went on the 15-day on June 8th?
Yes, and a month later they put him on the 60-day, which means his 60 days has surpassed now.
Right.
So he's eligible if they think he's
anytime.
Ready. Yeah. So I just want to point that out, and I don't know that specific to Ryan. I'm just saying sometimes you hear 60-day and you think, oh man, it's going to be a while. It's like, well, he's already been out for 37 days, and what's another 23? So I don't know if we'll see him on. I can try to send a text or two when we get off, and I'll text you, Mo, if I hear anything, because I'd love to see him pitch for Jacksonville next week if that's possible. But I'm
who else would love to see him pitch for Jacksonville next week?
His family.
The Sounds ticket office.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm just trying to quickly look here while we're chatting. I know this is not great radio, but I thought I might see a headline or something here. But I'll see what I can find out, and I'll text you if I hear anything.
That'd be great.
Jeff, speaking of next week, I think I'm going to take my maiden voyage Tuesday. What can you tell me about Tail Wagging Tuesday at First Horizon Park?
It's a fun atmosphere out there with all the dogs, man. It's and the cool part of these Tito's Tail Wagging Tuesdays is that there's always a nonprofit component. All the dog ticket proceeds always benefit a local animal nonprofit. So the tickets start at $30, and that's $25 for the human and $5 for the dog ticket. And the dog ticket proceeds on Tuesday will benefit the Nashville Humane Association. There's about 6 or 7 different local animal nonprofits that we at Tito's work with every year to try to help as many different nonprofits as we can. So, and I have not looked ahead. How are we looking temperature-wise on Tuesday? Because sometimes this time of year, you get a mild enough night that it's a great night for the dogs. You don't want the 98-degree night necessarily, because that's not great for the dogs. But, man, last homestand, we had a perfect night temperature-wise on a Tuesday. So hopefully we're relatively mild on Tuesday, and we'll have a good dog crowd out there with you along for the ride, Wade.
Yeah, I will tell you, it has gone up a little bit, but Tuesday was going to be the day next week. The high was initially 77.
Ooh, I like that.
It's up to 83 now, so basically a heat wave. But
that's perfect.
83, we'll take that. And I was a little disappointed because that's 77. Man, that sounded perfect.
That was sounding real good. Absolutely.
I know, it's funny. This time of year, don't we all look forward to the crisp fall weather? And then we realize, that's coming at Thanksgiving. We still have like 2 more months of the hot weather.
False fall is upon us shortly, I feel. Yes.
Yeah, but that'd be good. That'd be a great temperature on Tuesday. But it's so much fun out there. We usually get anywhere from 100 to 200 dogs out there, and it's just a fun atmosphere. And there's There's different giveaways out there for people to take home for their pets and some swag. And Tito's is a great partner on that with us and has been for several years. So we'd love to have you for a Tail Wagging Tuesday on Tuesday, Wade.
So I'm curious about this. What are the rules? Not saying that, that we would do this, but what are the rules on foul balls then? How does that work on Tail Wagging Tuesday? If you got a really good trained dog, I feel like you got an advantage when it comes to foul balls or home runs even.
Well, with the tail wagging, you're out in the right field area, out under the guitar. And so let's say, you and somebody else come and you have one dog. One of the two humans could leave that area and go somewhere else in the park, but the dogs have to stay in the designated dog area. So you're in home run territory for your dog, not necessarily foul ball territory. Yeah, absolutely. So, when Brewer Hicklin hits one out there, see if your dog can get their teeth on it, and there you go.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like you got an advantage. It makes more sense with the home runs and being the designated area because, foul balls, that could get messy with everybody running around there. So it's already crazy enough with the humans chasing the foul balls. The four-legged animals, good to know they're kind of contained. So that is good.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Jeff Hem, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Jeff, enjoy your weekend in Durham and look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, man. When we continue here on Main Street Sports Today from the Lee Company studios, we'll be talking a little Major League Baseball. So stay tuned when we come back after this break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
16th, 1961. Closing in on his 53rd career shutout, Warren Spahn had to settle for a 2-1 complete game victory as the Milwaukee Braves downed the Pittsburgh Pirates. Spahn blanked the visitors through 7 innings before Dick Stewart followed a Roberto Clemente one-out double with an RBI base hit. Spahn retired 5 of the last 6 hitters he faced to close out the win as Eddie Matthews doubled home a run and Frank Thomas homered in the victory. That was this day in Braves history. Speaking of shutouts, the Braves absorbed yet another one yesterday, and it was particularly, I don't know about galling necessarily, but it's curious how you can score 13 runs in one game and not score at all in the next. But that's why we can't have nice things. And the Braves still got out of San Francisco with 3 or 4, but that 4th one, man, it's tough. Now, Logan Webb has been really good this year. I think he improved to 11-8 with the victory. But, man, this offense has just been up and down, up and down, up and down. So maybe we can figure something out in Anaheim tonight as Spencer Schwellenbach goes to the mound, 4-5 with a 3.95 ERA. And again, speaking of guys who would be getting some NL Rookie of the Year buzz if it wasn't for Paul Skeens, Schwellenbach goes against Jose Soriano, starting for the Angels, 6-7 with a 3.36 ERA. Again, that's an 8.38 first pitch. So see if you can sneak in a nap between now and then and catch that one out on the West Coast.
Hey, two quick things, Mo. Number one, did you see the hoopla, if you will, about the Michael Harris Grand Slam ball and what's transpiring there?
No. Is he not getting it back?
There's only one way he's getting it back, and apparently this giant super fan, McCovey Cove Dave.
Yeah, I saw him when he got it. Okay, so what's Dave wanting?
He wants a job with the Giants. The Braves offered, all kind of stuff. And he says, hey, the Braves, he says, no offense, but I'm not a Braves fan. Why do I want your stuff? And so he has said he wants a job with the Giants in exchange for the ball. David O'Brien kind of detailing the tweet on the Braves side of things. It said, quote, the Giants obviously declined. So it looks like, depending on who blinks first, that ball may not be ever returned to Michael Harris, because McCovey, I admire the gumption though. Hey, I don't want to pin it. I don't want a hat, nothing like that. I want a job with the Giants.
I don't want a signed bat, jersey, none of that. I want a job. I don't even want the Braves money.
Yeah. I want a gig with you guys. And I mean, for a guy that doesn't even
what is McCovey Cove Dave qualified to do?
I mean, so that's what I was getting ready to say. I mean, for a guy that doesn't even go inside the park, he just cruises around on his kayak every game. I don't blame the Giants for maybe not offering this guy a gig. I mean, he's got a lot of free time on his hands, and he chooses to just patrol. Think about that. You just got to patrol out there. I presume you got
can't even see the game. I mean,
I'm assuming you got a radio or something, because otherwise you're just literally waiting to hear and just hoping that the sound of the bat carries you in the right direction, I suppose, or in the general vicinity at that point.
Goodness.
I will admit it is one of the coolest things, especially, in the Bonds heyday.
Sure.
When there were multiple folks out there, but McCovey Cove Dave apparently is the main guy. Other thing I wanted to mention, very interesting developments, at least in regards to the betting markets, Mr. Patton, for Rookie of the Year, because there is a lot of question marks about the Pirates and do they shut Paul Skeens down, because they have absolutely nosedived since the trade deadline. I think they're like 8 or 10 games back now in the wild card, and Skeens has gone. I'm not going to be able to find the exact tweet where I saw this, but he's basically gone from like a massive, massive surefire runaway victor to basically a dead heat now between him and the Padres' Jackson Merrill at this point.
Wow.
Presuming that, he gets shut down. I saw something that he's already pitched more innings now than he ever has at any point in his career. They're falling out of the race. And I mean, that's where I'm curious. The question becomes, has he done enough already to secure it? Because if he's not playing the last month of the season, you kind of almost got to reward the guy that's been playing all season, I would think,
well,
right?
And yeah, I mean, that becomes a question. Has he done enough? And, you know, what are the guys? I mean, if Jackson Merrill helps the Padres into the postseason and has been there, you know, the bulk of the season, and Paul Skeens gets shut down after not coming up until mid-May, that does make it interesting. But
something to keep our eyes on is and especially we talked about it yesterday a little bit with the starting pitching and the innings. Imagine if you've kind of planned a trip now to go to whatever ballpark, but assuming Pittsburgh, or at least when the Pirates are in your town, hoping to see this guy. And then in the last month of the season, he may be shut down at this point because they have been so bad after the trade deadline. They've gone, they've lost at least 10 in a row, and they're at the bottom of the Central. And like I said, they're double digits now in the wild card as well. So they were right there in the thick of things right after the trade deadline, and now they've just free-falled, if you will.
Where is their streak? Yeah, they have lost at least, they've lost 10 straight, like you said. That's crazy. 3 games behind 2 games behind the Cubs, 3 in the win column in the NL Central. So, will definitely be something that we need to continue to keep our eyes on. Your guys are going for what? 8 in a row tonight? 9 in a row?
They're approaching double digits, and I'm going to whisper this because I'm pretty sure the A's got them for a game or 2 last year. I remember at one point in the season where you're thinking there's no way they're going to lose. They're going to win all 3 easy. But, yeah, they got the White Sox coming in. So, I mean, you could maybe tip this thing into double digits if you play your cards right this weekend for Houston.
Well, if you're going to do it, you got to get this one because Garrett Crochet starts for the White Sox 6-9 with a 3.95. You got Spencer Arrighetti going for Houston 5-10 with a 5.14. But you feel like if you can somehow, you know, Nick Crochet tonight, the next couple get a little easier. 6-10 tomorrow, 1-10 on Sunday. But yeah, the Astros taking an 8-game winning streak into Minute Maid Park tonight when the White Sox show up in the opposite dugout, and we know what the White Sox are about. So we'll see how that one goes.
Playing it on paper, yeah, you like your chances if you're Houston, but they've been a little inconsistent at times this year. They're on a good run of form right now, but I'm not going to feel relieved until maybe they take all of them this weekend and we come back on Monday.
Vandy boy J.J. Bleday with his first career grand slam as Oakland defeats the New York Mets 7-6 in 3 hours and 45 minutes, the longest game since the pitch clock has been instituted for 9 innings. 425 total pitches, the most in a game in a 9-inning game this year. Bleday said he was surprised to look at the scoreboard in the 5th inning and realize the game was almost 2 hours old. That definitely felt like the longest game of the year. That's because it was, big boy. So, yeah.
Oof, yeah. That's even for the players. Yeah, that tells you all you need to know. Even when the players look around and they're like, man, this feels like it's taken a while.
Almost 4 hours to play 9 innings. Goodness gracious. Jeff McNeil had an 11-pitch and a 10-pitch at bat. Francisco Lindor had a 10-pitch at bat. Mets walked 11. Man, that had to be ugly to watch.
And they're in New York, so you know some of the A's are like, let's get this thing on the road, man. I got places to go and things to do.
I got dinner reservations, man. Come on now. Shoot. Yep. Hour number 1 of the weekend update here on Main Street Sports Today has run its course. Come on back to the Lee Company Studios for hour number 2 when we come back.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, and this is hour 2 of the weekend update. As we dive into the grab bag, and let's start, since we've already been talking about Jim Harbaugh, and we did mention earlier in the week that apparently he had made an offer to Colin Kaepernick to join the Los Angeles Chargers coaching staff back in January. Well, apparently he addressed that with the Chargers media corps yesterday. I love Colin, but he's not going to be on the coaching staff, which is set for this year, and he's not going to be playing on the roster either, he said, following practice yesterday. So I guess Kaepernick never did follow up with them, and they have decided to move on from that at this point. And, I would imagine from a coaching standpoint, that's kind of an evergreen type situation if ever they decide to sit down and discuss it. And maybe we see Colin Kaepernick on the Chargers sideline next season, but it's not something that's going to happen this year, according to Harbaugh. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and this was a story that kind of got leaked out and kind of made some rounds this week, and it kind of just feels like Harbaugh kind of doing Kaepernick a solid, kind of keeping his name in some good graces in terms of football playing acumen, potential football coaching acumen. And at the same time, Kaepernick, kind of extending his love to Jim Harbaugh. So seems like I never really have gotten the indication. It seems like Kaepernick, based on all of his quotes and social media posts over the last 2 or 3 seasons, everything he's still done is tried to go down the avenue of playing. And until that switch kind of finally shuts off in his brain, I think that's where he's maybe still operating. So I haven't really given this a ton of credence. I think it would be cool because Greg Roman is his offensive coordinator as well. And, man, those 3 made a lot of magic happen, as we talked about earlier this week during that magical run to the Super Bowl. So just from a nostalgia standpoint, I think it'd be cool. And it's kind of nice to see that Harbaugh and Kaepernick kind of still just extending a few olive branches, even if it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year.
Yeah, and, it's clearly it's unfortunate the way Colin Kaepernick's career finished out. And there's a lot of frustration on a lot of people's parts as far as that goes. And it'll be interesting to see where things go next for him. And, the way things flamed out in the direction that he's gone in, you wouldn't necessarily think that coaching would be that next avenue for him. But, who knows? The guy did some really good things on the field, and you can acknowledge them or not, but it's tough not to acknowledge them, I think. So keep an eye on that. From one coast to the other, Drake May v. Jacoby Brissett is still a thing in New England, according to Patriots coach Gerard Mayo. In last night's 14-13 matchup with Philadelphia, Brissett threw an interception into the end zone and almost threw another one. May drove the team for its only touchdown, and apparently the gap between those two has closed, with Mayo saying earlier today the competition isn't over. Brissett started both New England's preseason games, but the first-year coach says that May could get some first-team reps this coming week. So the first-round pick out of North Carolina still keeping himself in the mix for that QB1 spot. Again, 6 of 11 for 47 yards. But one of those 5 incompletions, apparently the consensus is that it should have been caught for a chunk of yards. So obviously Brissett is a guy who has played a lot in the National Football League, has started a lot in the National Football League. May is, a rookie. So we'll see how that goes. Mayo did say that the starting offense will play in the final preseason game next week. So
may get our answer sooner than later.
Yeah.
And man, they got a wild quarterback room.
They really do.
Zappy still in the mix after having played quite a bit. Milton did not look as good last night as he did. So, I'm going to have to walk it back a little bit from saying he should be the starter. But week 1, he looked phenomenal versus the Panthers. Not as great last night, but none of the quarterbacks really looked that great. And it's at the end of the day, it's preseason. So the camp is probably where the real meat and potatoes is really going to bear itself out. But I got a wild room, and just to me, it feels like Mayo kind of carries that old school Patriot way about him, that it feels like, just my total read on this is that he is going to give the lean to Brissett unless May definitely beats him out.
I think May will. I think you're absolutely right. I think May will have to clearly outplay Brissett.
And with Mayo being, as highly regarded as he is, it feels like a situation where the ownership is not going to get really involved and, press their guy. They're going to trust their coach. And to me, it just feels like Brissett is going to get the early lean unless something changes down the stretch here. And then, kind of evaluate. I don't know if it's on a week-by-week basis or how they process that at that point. But to me, it just feels like Brissett is going to be your guy.
Yeah. I would be at this point. I would kind of be shocked if it's not. To be honest, I just don't know that a rookie can make up that gap.
Right? Yeah, it feels like we would have already heard. Yeah, it feels like we would have already heard enough from May that he's clearly got to be the starter. Right? It doesn't feel like we've heard enough of that just yet to really say that he's won the job.
Yeah, and I think that's what you've got to hear for that to be the case. We talked a little bit about the college football playoff yesterday and rumblings about the group of fives place therein. Apparently the committee has met and has opted to eliminate the use of conference championships as a tiebreaker when determining playoff berths, which kind of makes sense when you consider that each of the conference's highest ranked champions will be in the field. So I'm not sure what the point would be of having that as a tiebreaker when they're already in. For years, conference championships played a critical role in breaking ties between teams with similar records. But with the expansion to a 12-team format, the necessity of using conference titles as a tiebreaker has diminished. Under the new system, the top 4 highest-ranked conference champions will receive a coveted first-round bye, effectively embedding the significance of winning a conference title into the playoff structure itself. Thus rendering the use of conference championships as a tiebreaker redundant, allowing the committee to focus on other important factors when comparing teams. So, I mean, if you're a conference champion, you're going to be in. If you're a Power 4 conference champion, you're going to be in the field anyway. So, using that as a tiebreaker is, redundant. So,
yeah, like you said, especially as this field is expanded, this is probably, you would assume, not going to come up very, very often. I am curious though that the G5s they get one berth. That's right?
Yes,
guaranteed berth. I guess
one guaranteed berth. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, does that play in? Because what if you have an undefeated Tulane and Liberty are the easy examples. Somebody off the radar, but Liberty went like 11-1 and somehow didn't win their conference championship. Does that play into it? That's the part that I'm kind of curious about. Is that a tiebreaker potentially for those? If somebody stubbed their toe in the conference championship game last week,
that's a valid question.
Because that will be the fun part of this is we're finally going to have that group of 5 representation, and that will be a pretty spirited debate, I would imagine, when you're talking about teams, unless one team clearly goes undefeated and nobody else, has 2, everybody else has 2 losses or something. But it could be a pretty spirited debate. And I think that'll be kind of a fun little wrinkle as we come down the stretch for that particular set of schools.
Sure. The first of 6 college football playoff rankings will be released on November 5th. So mark your calendars.
A lot going on that day.
Yeah. The culmination of this rigorous process will occur on December 8th, known as Selection Day. I assume that's a Sunday. At that point, the 12-team bracket will be announced. This is going to be wild. And it's going to be wild to watch. And, the fact that you're now looking at, 15 teams instead of 6 is especially kind of it's going to be even more buzzy than usual, I think. So that's strap in. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, for a sport where we've debated for years and years, college football is the ultimate sport where everybody kind of thinks their team has a chance, but realistically there's only like 2 or 3, maybe 4 some seasons teams that really have a shot to win this thing. But now that you kind of have the playoff, those teams Ole Miss, Texas A&M's, those type schools that have a great season, but are they really that good? This will be kind of fun to see how the playoff shakes out, because the 4-team playoff, if you get the 4 best teams, it's, just blue bloods and everybody just beating up on each other. You don't have that real kind of element of parity outside of maybe Washington, depending on your evaluation of them last year. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be unwieldy as all get out, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you like watching Robert Griffin III on ESPN, I hate it for you, because he's no longer on ESPN. Neither is NFL Countdown host Sam Ponder. They have both been let go. Allegedly budget related. As ESPN reaches the end of its fiscal year, the only moves being made at this point, but more decisions could be made before the end of September, according to Andrew Marchand of The Athletic. RG3, man, was really becoming a voice in both college and NFL football, I think, and college and professional football. I'm sorry, because I hate to be redundant like that. He had been on Monday Night Countdown until they added Jason Kelsey in his spot. But like I said, was really becoming a voice both at the collegiate and professional level. And this was a shock to a lot of folks, I think. Both Griffin and Ponder will be paid out their salary, which kind of makes the budget cuts a little interesting of an explanation, I would think. But I mean, you're talking about money at that level that I can't fathom anyway. So I don't know, but it's a curious move, or those are curious moves, I think. So
curious moves, and with RG3 in particular, you're right. It feels like he was really kind of coming into his own. It was entertaining, if nothing else. And digging in the weeds here, two different reasons to blame potentially for this. If you don't buy the contract situation, which, like you said, the money we're talking about, I don't know. Sometimes got a hard time believing that. But just a couple of days ago, there was a little skirmish on socials between Feinbaum and RG3, where Feinbaum's, bagging on Florida State and saying they shouldn't be in the top 10 and they won't finish even ranked this year. And RG3 kind of came at him in a thinly veiled shot there. And, it kind of makes you wonder if he didn't succumb to the proverbial pecking order at ESPN. That's one way to look at it.
That is a way to look at it for sure. And for those of us, those cynical and crotchety of us looking at it, it's an explanation. You would certainly hate to think that, you can't have an opinion. And
it was thinly veiled. He didn't, directly call him out.
Well, I mean, even if he had, though, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know that kind of thing. If there is something to that, that's disappointing.
Hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully not. And I mean, if nothing else, that discourse, we've seen networks use that to your advantage.
Sure.
That's content for days. And speaking of content, the other, if you really want to get into it, the reason he might have got fired was he goes viral over in Paris. And, the internet is kind of undefeated. And so anytime, I'm not sure if producer Mark's got the pick, but I mean, anytime you just go out in public, I know he was having, a good time with Mrs. Griffin there, but anytime you go out in public and do what he did, the internet's going to be coming for you. And so RG3, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's a tough look. The internet was gunning for RG3. I don't like to see anybody lose their job, but that's a tough one to recover from when the internet turns you into a meme, unfortunately.
I'm going to tell you what, though, that is one hell of a croissant.
I mean, that is a Mac Daddy croissant right there.
Yeah.
That might have been $65, but you know what? It's probably worth it.
You know, if I had that croissant, I probably wouldn't care what meme came out of it. So, but that's just me. Let's take a break from the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we will be joined by, speaking of the athletic, MICHAEL-SHAWN DUGAR, who has been in our fair city for the last couple of days, observing practice sessions out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park between the Titans and his Seattle Seahawks. Stay tuned when we come back.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
The Weekend Update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely, and we are joined now by MICHAEL-SHAWN DUGAR of The Athletic, who covers the Seattle Seahawks, and in anticipation of tomorrow night's preseason game at Nissan Stadium, has been in Nashville observing the joint team practices between those two. Michael, good afternoon, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. How's Nashville been treating you?
It's hot, real hot. I'm not a fan of the humidity. Heat I can handle. Humidity is just kind of sticky, you know. And I'm not like a huge sweat person, but like I do tend to sweat when it's humidity, so that hasn't been great. Otherwise, it's been fine. I had a really bad Uber experience yesterday, though. Those are the two things that have been bad: the humidity and the one Uber experience. Yeah, the guy like hit. Short version of the story is he just hit me up out of nowhere and was like, "Man, you have a 4.25 rating. What's wrong with you?" Like, I've never in my 9 years of doing Uber, I've never seen anything like this. And I was like, "Yeah, dude, just cancel the ride. I don't even want to. Like, why are you even talking to me like this? Like, what's going on? I don't know you." And then that was a short version of that story. We ended up exchanging a lot of messages, but I did not get in that dude ride. It was real crazy.
I'm gonna give a blanket statement, Michael, and say he's not one of us. Don't paint a bad light on the whole city off of one guy there. No,
I wouldn't do that. No, I was here last year, so it was not my first time.
No, he probably ain't even from here. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. He's from out of town somewhere.
You are a Pacific Northwest native, though, right?
Yeah, born and raised in Seattle. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I can see where humidity might be a little bit of a concern for you. How do you feel like that impacted the team? Do you feel like the team that impacted the team this week through their workouts?
I think the Seahawks were fine. I saw a few Titans guys cramp up on the first day. You have to, I mean, it makes sense. It's super humid. I just thought their bodies would have been used to it though. At this point, like a couple Seahawks guys got like hurt, but not like cramps. You know what I mean? There
Right,
was a
right.
couple guys. I think even Callahan talked about it that like cramped up on the first day of practice. Otherwise, I thought it was fine. In general, the length and the intensity of the practices in that heat made the final periods on both days pretty interesting because by then everyone's dog tired. Right? Like, it's not a game situation per se, but after 2.5 hours of running around, whether you're a backup or a starter, you're probably tired. Like the Seahawks, one of their backup receivers, he scored a touchdown on the final play of practice Wednesday, and you could hear him just be like, "Man, I'm tired as hell," right after he scored. Because they've been out there for like 2.5 hours, but still made the play. That was cool to see, like, who makes plays when they're tired. And both teams did a good job of that on Thursday when it was kind of a full game situation or end of game situation. Both offenses and defenses made some pretty good plays, though I think the Seahawks kind of had an advantage there. They got a touchdown and an interception, whereas the Titans just got an interception in that Thursday period.
Were you able to kind of reestablish contact with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, new Titans who had been out there with you previously?
Yeah, Quandre, yes. I never really had much of a relationship with Jamal. He just wasn't on the field, that much. And when he was, it was during COVID. So he was most often on the field in 2020 and 2021 when we didn't have locker room access. Whereas Quandre was obviously played the last 2 seasons where we had locker room access. So he's someone I would see, a lot more and talk to. Yeah, we talked a little bit before practice Thursday and a little bit after practice Thursday. We're both girl dads. I've met his kids. It's always good to talk about that. 2 of his kids are around my daughter's age. So it's kind of cool. Always cool to just chat about some non-football stuff when you get a chance to see guys.
Absolutely. MICHAEL-SHAWN DUGAR of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Michael, for our local folks, one of the most obvious questions to ask regarding the Seattle Seahawks is, how is Tyrell Dodson coming along, the former high school standout here at Centennial High School just outside of Nashville?
Yeah, I didn't learn that until yesterday that he was
what?
A guy. Yeah, I mean, he's a new dude, and I was on paternity leave for most of the offseason. So I didn't do like super deep dives on the new guys. Really, a little bit on the draft picks, but not so much as some of the veterans. And I mean, he's been in the league, 5-6 years. So like where guys are from and went to high school, I'm not really researching anything outside of the draft picks. So yeah, I didn't learn that till yesterday when I saw his agent and someone mentioned that, yeah, he's from here. But he looks really good coming downhill. He's a lot bigger than he looks on tape. You watch some of the Buffalo stuff, and he's not like he looks small per se, but like compared to a little bit what I'm more used to in Seattle with like Bobby Wagner was a really big linebacker. Like when you see him, he looks huge, because he comes from a different type of archetype, I guess, where those guys, Bobby's like one generation of linebackers removed from like neck pad guys, I feel like. So he's a little bit more in the 242, 245 range, at least is what he used to play at. And like even KJ Wright, really big linebacker, also very tall. Feels like these modern guys are a little smaller and slimmer, which makes sense because they got to do more running in today's schemes. And in college, it's all spread out. So you're getting a lot of linebackers in college who are like converted safeties. So Tyrell kind of fit that mold. Now see him in person, I'm like, yo, he's yoked up. Maybe it was always the case. Maybe that happened this offseason. I don't know. I haven't got a chance to like ask him that per se, but I bring up his weight and his stature because he's part of what's going to be changed in Seattle is stopping the run. They've been pretty bad at it the last couple seasons. And linebacker play is one of many critical components of that. And you need to be as much as like being fast and agile matters at the end of the day, like, can you get the running back on the ground? Can you disengage with a pulling guard? And that requires strength. And Tyrell looks like a lot more equipped for that than I initially thought when I did a little bit of browsing of like his Buffalo film in like March.
Speaking of, I wanted to ask you, Michael, 2 questions, one about each team. But since we're kind of talking defense, how is the team adjusting and adapting to new coach Mike Macdonald? Because this is a guy that's got a lot of defensive success, which we know Seattle has really hung its hat on in years past. So I'm curious, status of the team and your vibes just as he enters this new coaching realm here.
Yeah, Mike Macdonald is in an interesting position relative to his fellow 2024 head coach hirees in that he inherited probably the best roster of everyone. You know, he definitely inherited the team that had the most wins in the previous season. You know, you look at guys like Gerard Mayo, Antonio Pierce, Dan Quinn. You know, the teams they took over stunk. You know,
Callahan.
Exactly. Yeah, Ryan Callahan.
Yep.
You know, those teams stunk. And the Seahawks weren't world beaters, but you know, they were a Bears win in week 18 from making the playoffs, I think, you know, so they were average in that sense. Whereas Mike Macdonald's peers took over really bad rosters with top 10 picks, you know? So I think he's hit the ground running the way that I would have anticipated. You know, the front looks good. I expected the front to look good, you know, because they were already talented. They just needed some tweaks here and there, maybe to add a player like they did with Byron Murphy, their first round pick. Secondary looks better than I thought. I think that he's done a good job of trying to put the guys in positions to kind of do what they do best in the secondary. I mean, you could see a little bit of that with Rick Woolen early on, and Devin Witherspoon as well. Like Spoon can do everything, but like you got to give him his shots at coming at the quarterback. Very similar to Jamal Adams in that way. Like you got to get him on a few of those a game, you know. Maybe even multiple times in a drive if he's feeling it. With Rick Woolen, it's like, yo, there's a lot of teams playing a bunch of zone in the NFL, which makes sense. But like Reek's thing, man, just let him line up and run with a guy because he can run with quite literally anyone. You know, ran 4.26. He's 6'4", so he can run with anyone. Mike's put him in position to do a lot of that. Same thing with Trey Brown. You know, their other corner, number 22. You know, he's one of those guys. Like, let him just line it up and go. You know, it doesn't mean play man every snap, but definitely try to maximize the situations where they are, you know, just mano-a-mano and can line it up and go make plays, which we saw Reek do in camp. And even someone like Julian Love, who just got a bag, you know, led the team in interceptions last year, Pro Bowl guy last year. You know, he's kind of he won't like this term, but kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type of guy, which isn't bad. But when you are that, the way to maximize a player like that is have him do a little bit of everything.
Right.
You know, versus like a Quandre Diggs can do a lot of stuff, but really he's like middle third, post safety, ball hawk. Like that's his thing. Like you should have him do that middle of the field. He'll hold it down. Whereas Julian's like throw him a little bit of middle of the field bones, throw him some deep half bones, let him play a little nickel, man up with some tight ends, you know, cover some flats, like have him do a lot of stuff because he can just do a lot of things really well as opposed to like being elite at one super thing. So that's kind of where it stood out with Mike Macdonald. You could tell when he scouted the roster after he got hired, he formulated a plan, and he's so far they haven't played a real game outside of 2 series versus the Chargers. He's done a good job of like implementing a lot of that, and you can see most of it show up in the secondary.
Yeah, I asked that because I feel like that was a number one. Inheriting the great roster certainly helps, but it feels like, man, he's a kid in a candy shop, I think, when he sees some of the weapons he's got at his disposal on the defensive side of the ball. Real quickly, on the other side, who stood out to you in your short time in Nashville on the Titans side of things thus far?
On either side of the ball?
Yeah, either take your pick. Maybe best overall, if you will, even.
Best overall, without question, is Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, he might have single-handedly got Anthony Bradford benched, you know, after Wednesday. You know, no, for real, like Anthony Bradford – he played. He was with the ones. He's been with the ones all camp, and then he was with the ones on Wednesday, and then Thursday with the twos the entire day. And then Mike Macdonald just said he wanted to see what 3rd-round rookie Christian Haynes could do, which is the right coach speak answer. But I mean, if Mike had also said, "I watched the film of yesterday's practice and decided to move Anthony," I'd have been like, "Yeah, okay, I feel you." Like I didn't watch the film of it personally, obviously, but off first glance, I was definitely like, "Yeah, okay." They should probably see what 64 was Christian Haynes. They should probably see what 64 can do. Jeffrey Simmons is just a different dude, man. I thought, I don't have a roster in front of me, but 99 was really solid. Rushing the passer.
Is that Rashad Weaver? Wade?
I believe so. I believe that's Weaver. Yeah,
I think so.
But when I was watching the Titans defense, those two really stood out. Wasn't super impressed with anyone else on the back seven. I mean, Quandre, you could see his smarts. You could see how well he knows Geno. So, and you could see Quandre, you're getting to see, I don't know how much he's practiced here yet, but the Titans fans will hopefully come to learn. Quandre's superpower on top of this, what I just mentioned, is he in the moment, because he's seen so much ball, he recognizes situational football. So it probably helps those young corners playing next to him that when Quandre's like, yo, know the situation. Here's the sticks. Here's the called. Maybe alert to this. Like, yeah, you're lined up against so-and-so, but the ball's probably going to 14 on this play because it's DK Metcalf, right? So let's adjust accordingly. You can hear him calling that stuff out. I don't know if it's just because he likes to talk or because the corners were the backups playing, but either way, that was encouraging to hear. No one really on Titans offense. I mean, no offense. It just wasn't. I watched them. Which day did I watch the Titans offense? On Thursday. And yeah, it just really wasn't moving me really much. I like Tony Pollard though, just based off of last year, not like anything I saw in camp. And then like Will Levis threw a really bad pick, on his last throw of Thursday. When I saw Callahan say that like the starters aren't going to play, which makes sense in the game on Saturday, I was like, I think I would throw Levis out there just to get him more turns at it. But at the same time, to be fair to Levis, I'm not really sure who he's supposed to throw to. It really sucks that Tyler Boyd is hurt and that D-Hop is hurt, because I would have liked to see that offense with those guys, because, I mean, you guys saw the same stuff from Calvin Ridley that I saw, whether virtually or in person. Like Calvin Ridley was wildly underwhelming in most of the one-on-one reps and a lot of the team stuff I saw. So the standouts I saw on the Titan side of things were largely on defense.
MICHAEL-SHAWN DUGAR of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Mike, it feels wild to me as I go back and look up Geno Smith's history that this is his 6th season in Seattle.
Yeah, he's been here as long as DK. That's usually the way I put it, puts it in good context.
And I guess maybe because he played so little those first 2-3 years, but he has just quietly gotten it done, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think quietly more so last year than the first year. Like in 2022, everyone was kind of like, oh man, Geno Smith. Like he was legitimately one of the more intriguing storylines just across the NFL because of how unique his circumstance was. He hadn't, I think his last time being a starter was 2014. Like a full-time starter. He had like started 2 or 3 times in between that stretch, but for the most part, he went like 7 or 8 seasons without going into week 1 as a team starter. That was really unique. The league kind of took notice of that. He was like a storyline, obviously won comeback player of the year, an award Geno cares zero about. I think one time he was like, I don't even know where the trophy is. Because in his mind, he didn't come back from anything. He told us that season, he was like, I didn't just get this good in an off season. I've been like this. You guys just haven't been able to see it. Not like it was our fault we didn't see it. But, I push back on that a little bit because of, like you mentioned, it's not like he just showed up in 2022. Like I watched him in quarterback battles with Paxton Lynch. I watched him in quarterback battles with some of the other backups in 2020, 2021. It's not like he was lighting it up. I don't even think to beat out Drew Lock, I don't even think he'd do a touchdown in the preseason. He led some good drives.
Did he beat out Drew Lock, or did Drew Lock just play his way out of it?
Yes. I think that both things happened. But he was way better than Drew. And I think Drew's solid, but Geno was just noticeably better. But I think what helped Geno, I don't know if he'll ever admit this, I think in 2022, there's just a mindset difference, I would imagine, between being the backup and being the starter, and that like the backups are generally just asked to not lose the game for the team. When you're the starter, the expectation is go win us the game. And I feel like, just in the most generic of senses, the backup in that sense is a lot more risk averse, whereas that's just not Geno's game. Geno's like, if the concept is high to low, I'm taking the high, even if there's a little bit of space there, I can get it there, particularly if it's to Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. So I feel like when he won the job, he played a lot better than he had in the past when he was the backup, because that Pete Carroll at that point was like, oh, go let it rip, go win games for us, because that's how that fits who Geno is. He's a big game dude, you know, threw a bazillion touchdowns at West Virginia, you know, can sling it, you know, has always been a slinger. He's never been like need to dress it up, play action under center, cut the field in half with your reads. Now Geno's like empty shotgun, give me 5 eligibles and I'll read out the whole concept type of guy, you know. So I think that's really what had he's never said that to me or anything, but that's just my feel from kind of covering him all these years on why he really turned it up in 2022 and kind of just hasn't looked back.
He's been fun to watch, man. That NFC West, I mean, obviously the 49ers get a lot of attention, but it feels like the Hawks are just kind of lurking, right?
Well, the division is interesting because the 49ers, like you said, get a lot of attention because they're loaded. You know, they might have hit at this point double digits of guys who have been first team all pro. I think like it's pretty nuts, you know, how many elite players they have, at least first or second team. I'm pretty sure it's a really high number of players, which when you think about it is just absurd. You know, that means like the Pro Bowl is one thing, you know, Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl, you know, but it's hard to be all pro and to have so many guys that have done it, and not like in the past, like 7 years ago. A lot of them have done it within this like the last 4 years, you know. So they're loaded. Rams are a feisty, well-coached team. You know, I need to see them in a post-Aaron Donald world though, because he was a changer. And I just don't believe we just replaced that. I do like their front. You know, I like the 2 rooks that they had last year. They played both. I think Kobe Turner and Byron Young maybe both played really well last year. I don't know what they're doing in the secondary over there, but like Seattle's right in the mix probably with the Rams. I don't know what to make of the Cardinals. I just know that I'm really high on Kyler Murray, and I always have been. I have been from the first time I saw him in week 4 of his rookie season. And I remember Pete Carroll saying in the press conference leading up to that game, he was like, man, I'm so glad this game's early in the year because this kid is coming. He was like, he's a little rough right now because I think he'd only played 3 games. But he was like, this guy is coming. Like he let us know very early, like, I'm glad we're getting Kyler Murray while he's still like effing stuff up. But later, eventually he is going to light things on fire. And Pete was correct, you know. So I think healthy Kyler Murray, healthy Marvin Harrison Jr. is all you need to really tear it up, you know, offensively. So I think the NFC West is going to be a war. You know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the AFC North. You know, I feel like both of those divisions are going to just be just all out war. I feel like the AFC East you can maybe throw in there, but I think the Patriots are going to be stinky. So, you know, maybe the top 3 teams there is probably the other parallel.
All right. Marcus,
one thing is for sure. You mentioned the Cardinals. If Kyler is out, throw all that out the window because Desmond Ridder, I don't know, he's really moving the needle too much. So, Michael, we're definitely all rooting for Kyler to have a good season because I don't think anybody wants to really be subjected to seeing Ridder playing a high volume of snaps going forward.
Yeah, objectively bad quarterback play, and I actually liked Ridder coming out. I actually thought he should have went.
I was high on him too, and then I saw the first couple games in Atlanta, and I was like, oh man, he does not look comfortable and doesn't look good.
Well, but you have to wonder though how much of that was him and how much of that was coaching.
Yeah, I think Desmond and Malik went to the wrong teams. They should have went to the opposite teams. I don't know. Maybe they don't become starters, but I do think they look far more competent because, with Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder, they both came into the league and looked unplayable. I think they would look far closer to playable off rip if Ridder was behind Tannehill and Malik was behind who I think would have been Mariota at the time. Like the comps would have been a little bit like the offense.
Yeah.
In both of their cases where they ended up going, the offense had to look completely different when they were in. Yeah. You know, like Malik is nothing like Tannehill. So as you can't even really install the Malik stuff because you're more focused, rightfully so, on your guy. Same thing in Atlanta. It was like Ridder is so different than the guys who are starting. So it's like you can't even really install what should look like the offense, you know, in my opinion. I don't cover either of those teams, but from afar, that was always my thought. If they'd have went to opposite teams, I feel like they would have looked a lot better off rip.
It feels like, Mike, that aspect gets overlooked in a lot of cases. When you're going from QB1 to QB2, what are the similarities between those guys and how much can you line those up so that you don't have to so drastically alter your offense from one to the other.
Yeah, I mean that it's everything to me, I never really understand why teams like the Niners, for instance, they're like, all right, cool. We'll try to get the Jimmy G replacement a year early or something, and go get Trey. But it's like you can't even install the Trey stuff, in camp. I mean, you can, but that stuff takes a lot of time, and
Right.
I don't know how they break up their quarterback reps, but what I've seen in Seattle is like Russ used to get all of the snaps. He would get like 8 reps in a drill, and then the backup would come in and throw like 3 times, drills over. And if you're the third string dude, you might not even get no burn. So imagine trying to do that, and you need to get all these running plays in and all this option stuff in. If you're Trey Lance, then all the first team reps are Jimmy in a far more stationary drop back offense. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why teams do that. I feel like you're doing a disservice to the backup in either direction, whether you get a running guy or a more statuesque guy, that backs up a mobile dude. Like all Lamar Jackson's backup should be mobile. You don't go draft a cement-footed backup for Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, everything to me. I feel like they should mimic one another if you want to develop the young guy. Now, if you just bring in a vet, that's kind of whatever. But if you bring in a young guy and you want to develop him, yeah, you should give the time to develop in an offense that works for him.
MICHAEL-SHAWN DUGAR of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Michael, Callahan said that the starters probably aren't going to play tomorrow night. What is McDonald's plan with your guys for tomorrow night? Do you know?
Yeah, same thing. He's like, I'm not going to put my guys out there. Got good enough work in on Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, I think all the rookies who are like in the first team-ish running will probably play. So like Byron Murphy, defensive tackle, will probably play. Christian Haynes, who I talked about earlier, one of their guards, will probably play. Tyrese Knight, one of their day 3 picks at inside linebacker. He's starting right now because Jerome Baker's got a bad hammy. He'll probably play even though he's a starter. So you'll mix in a few guys like that. Even Jackson Smith and Juba, second-year receiver. He's a starter when they're in 11 personnel. He might play. I don't know that one for sure. But so a few guys like that. But otherwise, no DK, no Geno, no Charles Cross, no Noah Fant, no Tyler Lockett, no Ken Walker. So pretty much no one anyone knows, outside of Seattle. These are all the well-known names outside of Seattle. Locally, everyone knows everybody. But yeah, so like I'm actually not even going to the game. I'm leaving tomorrow morning because of that. I can just cover that from the crib, honestly.
Well, there you go. So if you have tickets for tomorrow night, be warned. Mike, we appreciate it, man. Safe travels back to the Pacific Northwest. Beware of who your Uber driver is, and we appreciate you taking some time with us.
I've used Lyft every day since, so yeah, ain't dealing with that anymore. Thank you guys for having me, though. Have a good one.
Absolutely, you too. When we come back to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports today, we'll tie up some loose ends with the weekend update. Stay tuned after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
He shoots, and he scores!
It's a weekend update here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. This is the final segment of the week. And as we mentioned yesterday, The FedEx St. Jude Championship is ongoing at TPC Southwind over in Memphis. It's a big deal in that your top 50 points holders following this will qualify for the BMW Championship. So a lot of eyes on this event over in Memphis this weekend. And Justin Rose with a 66, his second in as many rounds, gets him to 8 under for the tournament. I'm not seeing leaders quickly, but
McCarthy and Matsuyama both at 11 under.
Ooh.
And our guy Scotty, he's right there in the mix too. It feels like Scotty and Hideki are going to be going toe-to-toe over the course of the weekend. Scotty's at 9 under, and Hideki's tied for the lead at 11 under. Rose been playing well. He had a good Olympic tournament as well. And then you got Hovland. McIntyre's been playing pretty well. We've talked about him a couple weeks ago, winning the Scottish Open. This seems like a pretty good field. And, I mean, obviously it is a good field, but it being the first round of the playoffs, so to speak. And so always exciting when a guy like Scotty, especially, that's what's so fun to watch about him is he's been showing up in the biggest moments. You know, it's not like he's winning the Masters and then, you know, taking a couple weeks off and then the next major rolls around and he's not doing so hot. He's been in contention in virtually every one of these tournaments for the last 2 years, it seems like. And this is going to be fun to watch. A perfect Sunday for me would be them two going toe-to-toe. And if somebody else comes along, add it to the drama.
Shoffley tied for 13th with a 66-69. Not exactly what you would expect. But he's
it feels like he could have feels like he would have potentially been a little higher up. You know, I'm not real sure because it also felt like he was going to win the gold at the Olympics after the first day or two. It felt like it was his to lose, and he obviously did lose it. So maybe he'll get things going. Not too far out of contention.
Yeah,
this tournament will be one on the weekend for sure.
Yeah, the way folks are kind of stacked up at the top. Yeah, somebody will have to separate here over the next couple of days. Speaking of Olympians, we talked about the WNBA getting cranked back up last night, and we had a handful of them that looked none the worse for wear, including Kalia Copper, who scored 29 against her former team as the Phoenix Mercury defeated the Chicago Sky 85-65. She walked in wearing her former Sky game jersey and then proceeded to put them in a blender. She was averaging 23.2 points a game coming in, and like I said, she finished with 29 in that 20-point victory for the Mercury, as they also got 23 from Brittany Griner in that win.
Willie told us the Mercury are going to be hot, and I didn't get to watch any of that game, and I didn't need to because I got a notification given the score at halftime, and I mean, the Mercury were clobbering the Sky at that point and kind of made it respectable, if you will, even just in a 20-point loss, it sounds like.
In 2021, the Sky won their first WNBA championship, and Kalia Copper earned the nickname KFC. And we won't get into what the F stands for, but the KC is Kalia Copper. So, and she lived up to the billing last night, unfortunately for the Sky. Another Olympian, Nafisa Collier, goes for a double-double, 17 points, 12 boards, as Minnesota defeated Chicago 79-68. So, I mean, you know, apparently there's not a whole lot of fatigue with these folks coming back. But that's a big win for the Lynx as they, you know, stay toward or at the top of the WNBA's West Division with that one. So nice return for Collier and for Team USA coach Cheryl Reeve as well.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of wondering coming out of the break. We kind of got into it, Willie, a little bit, but the teams that were either in need of some mojo or they're toiling kind of at the bottom that maybe were on a little bit of a run. It seems like these stacked teams and these teams that had several players play in the Olympics, seems like they're coming back and they're just primed, at least after one night of results, just hitting the ground running. And with not being able to really work out and do a whole lot, the teams that were kind of beneath them in that lower tier, seems like they're kind of struggling to catch up, at least after, like I said, the first night of results.
Lynx ahead of the division by a half game up on Seattle, going to 18-8 with that victory last night. And you talk about teams and mojo. The New York Liberty improved to a league best 22-4 with that 103-68 win over the Sparks that we mentioned during the rundown at the top of the show. But Brianna Stewart with 27 points in that win. That is New York's third win of 35-plus points this season. That sets a single-season WNBA record and just speaks to what they've been doing all year. Again, they are 22-4 on the year, 3 games clear of the Sun in the WNBA East as of right now. Again, Stewie with 27 points in 20 minutes. Sabrina Ionescu had another 18 points along with 6 assists. Stewart hit threes on 3 straight possessions in the third, and Kayla Thornton added one to make it a 40-point game, 80-40, just outside the 2-minute mark of the third. So they
cruised to victory.
Yeah. I mean, they might be the runaway train of the WNBA right now. Certainly something to keep an eye on there. Again, tonight's schedule, you've got the Mercury on the second of a back-to-back going to Indianapolis. We didn't mention yesterday, but Indianapolis is set to host the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, and I don't imagine that's a great shock in light of everything else that's going on with the Fever this year. But
yeah, that will be a hard ticket to come by, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's the Fever hosting the Mercury this evening. Also, the Storm in their first game back from the break playing in Atlanta against the Dream this evening, and the Connecticut Sun visiting Dallas. And as Willie Ramirez mentioned yesterday, a dangerous Dallas team, we feel like, coming out of the break. So should be some pretty good ones here. What's tomorrow?
Liberty Aces tomorrow.
Gonna be 3 o'clock on CBS. Yep. So
Lynx at the Mystics. Never know what could happen, but that should be a little bit of a snoozer. But that'll be just the appetizer for the main event tomorrow at 3.
No doubt. Hey, that's going to do it for the weekend update here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Hope you all have had a great week and will have a great weekend. Be sure and come back right here, 2 o'clock on Monday. Wade and I will be here, and we hope to see you as well. Talk to you soon.